Welcome to Timeless Knowledge Discoveries, the podcast where we unearth the most captivating stories and enduring mysteries from the annals of history. I'm your host, Noah Lobby. Imagine this: a group of over 100 men, women, and children, pioneers in a vast, untamed new world. They establish a settlement, dreams of a new life flickering in their hearts. Their governor leaves to fetch supplies, promising a swift return. But when he finally makes it back, years later, they are gone. Vanished. The houses are dismantled, the area deserted. The only tangible clue: a single word, carved into a wooden post, Croatoan. This isn't the plot of a spooky movie, though it certainly sounds like one. This is the true story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke, a 16th century English settlement in present-day North Carolina that disappeared without a definitive trace, becoming one of America's oldest and most haunting unsolved mysteries. What happened to these brave souls? Did they meet a tragic end, or did they simply assimilate? Today, we're diving deep into the historical context, the cryptic clues, the compelling theories, and how historians, like historical detectives, try to piece together such a cold case. So, grab your explorer's hat, and let's venture back to the enigmatic shores of Roanoke. To understand the Roanoke story, we need to journey back to late 16th century England. Queen Elizabeth I is on the throne. It's an era of burgeoning national pride, exploration, and intense rivalry, especially with Spain, who had already established a vast empire in the Americas, reaping enormous wealth. England, under the ambitious Virgin Queen, was eager to get its own foothold in the New World. They wanted resources: gold, silver, timber, new trade routes, and a strategic base to potentially harass Spanish shipping. A man named Sir Walter Raleigh, a favorite of the Queen, became the chief promoter of English colonization in North America. He wasn't just an adventurer, he was a visionary, albeit one whose visions didn't always pan out as planned. In 1584, Raleigh sponsored an exploratory voyage. Captains Philip Amoders and Arthur Barlow landed on the Outer Banks of modern-day North Carolina. They found the land fertile, the Native Americans, primarily the Algonquian-speaking Secatan and Croatoan tribes, initially friendly, and the prospects promising. They even brought two Native Americans, Manteo and Wanchese, back to England, causing a sensation and further fueling colonial ambitions. Manteo, notably, was from the Croatoan tribe and became a crucial ally to the English. A first attempt at settlement was made in 1585, led by Ralph Lane. This was more of a military outpost, comprised entirely of men. However, this initial colony was plagued by poor planning, dwindling supplies, and deteriorating relations with some local tribes. When Sir Francis Drake, the famous English sea captain, made an unexpected stop in 1586, the disillusioned colonists jumped at the chance to return to England. They had barely survived. Fun fact alert: when Lane's colonists returned, they are credited with introducing tobacco, maize, corn, and potatoes to England, items that would profoundly change European agriculture and habits. Imagine England without potatoes for their fish and chips. So, the first attempt was a bit of a disaster. But Raleigh wasn't one to give up easily. He believed a different approach was needed: a true settlement with families, farmers, and artisans. A colony that could sustain itself. And so, in May 1587, a new group of around 117 English colonists set sail for the Chesapeake Bay, a location deemed more suitable than Roanoke. This group was different. It included 17 women and 9 children, a clear sign that this was intended to be a permanent civilian settlement, not just a military outpost. John White, an artist and cartographer who had been part of the earlier expeditions and had beautifully illustrated the New World and its inhabitants, was appointed as the colony's governor. But things started to go awry almost immediately. Simon Fernandez, the Portuguese pilot of the fleet, had his own agenda. Whether due to impatience, fear of Spanish patrols, or other motives, Fernandez refused to sail them further north to the Chesapeake. Instead, he insisted they disembark at, you guessed it, Roanoke Island in late July 1587. The colonists were not happy. They were essentially being left at the site of the previous failed colony, a place with already strained relations with some local tribes. Despite the setback, they tried to make the best of it. They repaired the fort and cottages left by Lane's men. And on August 18, 1587, a truly historic event occurred. Eleanor Dare, John White's daughter, gave birth to a baby girl named Virginia Dare. She was the first English child born in the Americas. A symbol of new beginnings, of hope for this fledgling community. Manteo, the friendly Croatoan emissary, was also baptized into the Church of England around this time, further cementing an alliance with at least one local group. But the colonists quickly realized they were desperately short on supplies. They hadn't arrived with enough to last them through the winter, especially given their unexpected landing spot. They persuaded John White to return to England to gather reinforcements and provisions. It was a painful decision. He would have to leave behind his daughter, his newborn granddaughter Virginia, and the entire community he was meant to lead. He departed in late August 1587, promising to return as quickly as possible, perhaps by the following spring. Little did anyone know, his return would be delayed by 3 long, agonizing years. Why the delay? War? King Philip II of Spain, furious with English privateering and support for Dutch rebels, launched the infamous Spanish Armada in 1588 in an attempt to invade England. All available English ships, including those White might have used, were commandeered for national defense. It was a David versus Goliath battle, which England miraculously won, but it threw all colonial ventures into chaos. Finally, in August 1590, John White managed to make his way back to Roanoke. As his ship approached the island, he looked for smoke signals, 4 signs of life, his heart likely pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. But there was nothing. The settlement was deserted. The houses had been carefully dismantled, not violently destroyed. The defensive palisade around the settlement area was still standing. And carved into one of the palisade posts was the word Croatoan. On another tree, he found the letters CRO. Crucially, White had instructed the colonists that if they had to leave Roanoke, they should carve their destination into a tree or post. If they were in distress, they were to add a Maltese cross above the carving. There was no cross. This suggested they hadn't been forced out by violence, but had left willingly, perhaps for Croatoan Island, modern-day Hatteras Island, the home of Manteo and his tribe, located about 50 miles south. White wanted to sail to Croatoan immediately. But, as fate would have it, a powerful storm blew in, damaging his ships and making a landing attempt on Croatoan too dangerous. With dwindling supplies and a restless crew, a heartbroken John White was forced to return to England. He would never see his family or the colonists again. He died years later, still haunted by their disappearance. And so, the 117 men, women, and children of the Roanoke colony became the Lost Colony. That single word, Croatoan, is the most significant and tantalizing clue left behind. But what did it truly mean? As we mentioned, Croatoan was the name of an island south of Roanoke, today part of Hatteras Island, and also the name of a specific group of Native Americans who inhabited that island and the surrounding coastal areas. They were a branch of the Algonquian-speaking peoples. Manteo, who had traveled to England and was a firm ally of the English, was a Croatoan. The absence of a Maltese cross was key for John White. It indicated that the colonists weren't in immediate danger when they left the message. This wasn't a sign of a massacre or a desperate plea for help. Instead, it seemed to be a clear, calm message indicating their intended destination. So, the most straightforward interpretation is that the colonists moved to Croatoan Island to live with or near Manteo's people. This makes a lot of sense. Facing dwindling supplies, potential hostility from other mainland tribes, like the Secretan, with whom Lane's colony had clashed, and the long delay of White's return, relocating to an area with known allies would have been a logical survival strategy. Fun fact: John White's detailed maps and watercolor paintings of the Carolina Algonquians and the local flora and fauna are invaluable historical documents. They provide some of the earliest and most vivid European depictions of North America and its indigenous peoples. Without White the artist, our understanding of this period would be much poorer. However, if it was so straightforward, why didn't John White reach them? The storm he encountered was severe, and his crew was unwilling to risk further exploration. Subsequent English attempts to find the colony were sporadic and often ill-fated or sidetracked by privateering, essentially piracy against Spanish ships. Years passed. Memories faded. The trail grew cold. The word Croatoan could also be seen as a broader term, perhaps indicating not just the island, but the general territory and people they were seeking refuge with. But without confirmation, it remains an enigmatic signpost on the path to an unsolved mystery. Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged to explain the colonists' disappearance. Let's explore some of the most prominent ones. Theory 1: Assimilation with Native American tribes. This is perhaps the most widely accepted theory among historians today, and Croatoan points directly to it. The idea is that the colonists, facing hardship, chose to integrate with the friendly Croatoan tribe, or possibly other nearby groups. Evidence for John White's own belief. Reports from later English explorers and settlers in the early 17th century, like John Smith of Jamestown fame and William Strachey, mentioned hearing tales from Native Americans about people who dressed and lived like Englishmen, or about survivors of an earlier English settlement. Some accounts even suggested these people had fair hair and eyes, or used European-style houses and tools. Archaeological finds on Hatteras Island, near the former Croatoan settlements, have included late 16th century European artifacts mixed with Native American items, suggesting cohabitation or trade. The Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, many of whom have ancestral ties to the region, have long held oral traditions about being descended from the Roanoke colonists and local Native Americans. Some early Lumbee even carried English surnames found among the colonists. Challenges: while intriguing, direct, irrefutable proof linking specific descendants to the 1587 colonists through DNA has been elusive and complex. Oral traditions, while valuable, can change over centuries. Theory 2: Conflict and Massacre. This theory suggests the colonists were attacked and wiped out, either by hostile Native American tribes or by the Spanish. Evidence for Native American conflict. Ralph Lane's earlier colony had soured relations with some mainland tribes, notably the Secretan, after Lane preemptively attacked them, suspecting a plot. It's possible these hostilities resurfaced. Powhatan, the powerful chief whose confederacy later clashed with the Jamestown settlers, reportedly told John Smith that he had wiped out a group of white settlers in that southern region because they were living with a rival tribe and refused to join his confederacy. Evidence for Spanish attack. Spain certainly saw English encroachment in the New World as a threat. They had previously destroyed a French Huguenot colony at Fort Caroline in Florida in 1565. However, Spanish archives, which are usually meticulous, show no record of an attack on the 1587 Roanoke colony. They were aware of its existence, but their focus was elsewhere, especially with the Armada. Challenges: the careful dismantling of the houses and the lack of a distress signal, The Maltese Cross argue against a sudden, violent attack at the Roanoke site itself. If massacred elsewhere, where is the evidence? Theory 3. Disease and starvation. The New World was a harsh environment for Europeans unaccustomed to its unique challenges. Evidence 4. Early English settlements like Jamestown suffered terribly from disease, like malaria, dysentery, and starvation, with appallingly high mortality rates. The Roanoke colonists arrived with limited supplies and were in a vulnerable position. A severe drought, evidenced by tree ring data from the region, occurred between 1587 and 1589. This mega-drought would have crippled their attempts to grow food and likely exacerbated tensions with Native Americans, who were also struggling for resources. Challenges. While disease and starvation could have decimated the colony, it doesn't fully explain the Croatoan carving or the dismantled houses, unless the survivors were too weak to travel far or left the message before succumbing. Theory 4. A failed relocation attempt or division. Perhaps the colonists attempted to move to a more favorable location, inland or further along the coast, as per their original plan to go to Chesapeake Bay, and perished en route or at a new, undocumented site. Evidence 4. They may have broken into smaller groups. Some might have gone to Croatoan, others might have tried to sail north in the pinnace, a small boat, left with them, or ventured up the Chowan or Roanoke rivers. Archaeological evidence from a site known as Site X on the mainland, near the confluence of the Chowan and Roanoke rivers, has yielded intriguing English artifacts from the correct period, suggesting some colonists may have settled there. This aligns with a patched map drawn by John White, where a symbol for a fort is hidden under a patch, possibly indicating an intended or actual secondary settlement location. Challenges. If they relocated successfully, why did they never re-establish contact? If they failed, what happened to them? The vast wilderness could easily swallow a small group. It's likely that the true story involves a combination of these factors. Perhaps some assimilated, while others succumbed to disease or conflict after splitting up. The mystery endures because the evidence is fragmented and open to interpretation. So, how do historians and archaeologists investigate a mystery that's over 4 centuries old? It's like being a detective on the coldest of cold cases. Here are some of the key methods. 1. Archaeology. This is paramount. Archaeologists excavate sites like the original Roanoke settlement, Croatoan Island, Hatteras, and potential mainland locations like Site X. They look for artifacts, pottery shards, metal objects, tools, weapons, personal items, post holes from structures, food remains. What they tell us: European artifacts found in Native American contexts can suggest trade, cohabitation, or assimilation. The types of artifacts, their distribution, and their condition can provide clues about daily life, diet, conflict, and when a site was abandoned. For example, the discovery of late 16th century English pottery at Native American sites on Hatteras is strong evidence supporting the assimilation theory. 2. Analysis of historical documents. Researchers painstakingly comb through English, Spanish, and even French archives. This includes letters, official reports, ships' logs, maps, journals, and legal depositions. What they tell us: John White's own writings and drawings are primary sources. Later accounts from Jamestown settlers provide second-hand reports about potential survivors. Spanish intelligence reports might, but in this case, largely don't, mention encounters or actions. The key is to critically analyze these sources. Who wrote them? What was their bias? What was their purpose? 3. Oral traditions. While challenging to verify after so long, the oral histories of Native American tribes, particularly the Lumbee, are considered. What they tell us: these traditions often speak of ancestral connections to the English colonists. While not direct proof, they offer valuable cultural perspectives and can sometimes point researchers in new directions. Historians must work collaboratively and respectfully with tribal communities. 4. Scientific analysis. Modern science offers powerful tools. Dendrochronology. Tree ring dating scientists analyzed tree rings from ancient bald cypress trees in the region. This revealed the severe drought between 1587 to 1589, providing crucial environmental context for the colony's struggles. DNA analysis. Various projects have attempted to trace genetic links between descendants of the lost colonists based on surnames and modern populations, including Lumbee members. This is incredibly complex due to intermarriage over centuries and the degradation of ancient DNA. Results have been suggestive, but often inconclusive or controversial. Geophysical surveys. Techniques like ground-penetrating radar can help identify buried structures or disturbances without extensive digging, guiding archaeological efforts. 5. Cartography. Map analysis. John White's maps are scrutinized. The aforementioned patched map, with the hidden fort symbol, discovered through transillumination, shining light through it, sparked new investigations inland. Investigating the lost colony is a multidisciplinary effort, blending traditional historical research with archaeology, anthropology, and cutting-edge science. Each new find, each re-examined document, adds another piece to this sprawling puzzle. It requires patience, critical thinking, and an acceptance that some questions may never be answered definitively. Why, after more than 430 years, does the lost colony of Roanoke still capture our imagination so profoundly? I think it's a combination of things. It's America's first great mystery, a story of hope, courage, and inexplicable disappearance right at the dawn of English presence in the New World. It touches on fundamental human themes: the urge to explore, the perils of the unknown, the dream of a better life, and the deep fear of being lost and forgotten. The story of Virginia Dare, the first English child born in this new land, adds a particularly poignant touch. What became of her? Did she grow up within a Native American tribe, a bridge between two worlds? Or did her life end tragically young? We don't know, and that uncertainty is powerful. The lost colony also serves as a reminder of the complexities and often brutal realities of early colonial encounters. It forces us to consider the perspectives of the Native American peoples whose lands were being encroached upon, and whose own histories became intertwined with these European arrivals. The quest to find answers continues. Organizations like the First Colony Foundation are still actively conducting archaeological research. Each discovery, however small as a piece of pottery, a metal buckle, fuels the hope that we might one day understand more clearly what befell those 117 souls. The Lost Colony isn't just a historical puzzle, it's a story that challenges us to think about evidence, interpretation, and the very nature of how we know what we know about the past. It's a testament to the fact that history is not just a collection of dates and facts, but a living, breathing investigation full of questions that still demand answers. It reminds us that some stories, like whispers on the wind, may never fully reveal their secrets, but the search itself enriches our understanding of who we are and where we came from. So, what have we learned today on Timeless Knowledge Discoveries? We've journeyed back to Elizabethan England's ambitions in the New World, witnessed the hopeful, yet ill-fated, establishment of the 1587 Roanoke colony, and pondered the sole, cryptic clue, Croatoan. We've explored the leading theories: assimilation, conflict, disease, relocation, and seen how historians use every tool at their disposal, from archaeology to DNA, to investigate this enduring mystery. The fate of the lost colony of Roanoke remains one of history's most compelling enigmas. While the theory of assimilation with the Croatoan or other Native American groups seems the most plausible to many, the absolute truth is still shrouded in the mists of time. What do you think happened to the lost colonists? Do you lean towards one theory over others? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining me, Noah Lobby, on this exploration with timeless knowledge discoveries. If you found this journey through history as fascinating as I did, please show your support. Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to Timeless Knowledge Discoveries for more deep dives into historical mysteries and amazing facts, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an adventure into the past. You can also leave your comments and theories below, we read them all. What historical enigma should we tackle next? Let us know. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep discovering the timeless knowledge that shapes our world.